You find yourself standing between two calendars on the fridge, and both are right. If you've been searching for blending holiday traditions in relationships, here's the truth you can feel in your bones. Love isn't a tiebreaker. It's the house that needs two front doors, both open, lights on, and a welcome mat big enough for everyone. On our first December together, we thought compromise meant cutting things in half. Half the decorations, half the recipes, half the joy. By the second weekend, the apartment smelled like a pine tree beside a simmering pot of star anise, and we were still arguing about which family we'd see first. That was the night we promised to try something better than half-lived celebrations, and that's the heart of whispered hearts: English. We started small. We swapped the idea of a single perfect day for a season of smaller moments, each with its own best flavor. There was eggnog in chipped mugs next to bowls of tangerines and red envelopes tucked under the tree like secret wishes. We learned that wonder doesn't care about the exact date on the calendar, only the care you pour into it. But there's a quieter decision most couples miss, and it changes everything. We stopped asking, which tradition wins, and started asking, what does this tradition mean to you? Under every ritual is a message about belonging, memory, or hope. If you shift your question, the path through the season opens. Have you tried asking what a tradition actually says to the heart? When you peel back the layers, traditions become a language. Research shows that rituals increase stability and connection because they anchor people to something they can count on. Therapists report that couples who name the meaning behind a ritual fight less about the logistics. Meaning turns an obligation into an offering, and offerings are easier to share. Which ritual in your life carries a meaning you didn't notice until now, but the meaning alone won't get you to dinner on time? Here's where joy gets practical. We created a simple rule: shift the time, keep the spirit. If the official date is jammed, we move the celebration without apology and keep its message safe. That one rule can feel like a deep breath when your inbox, your in-laws, and your GPS all demand urgency. So we stretched Christmas Eve into a Christmas morning breakfast and kept the candlelight feeling with a late-night cocoa the night before. For Lunar New Year, we honored the first day with calls to elders and a quick video blessing, then hosted our dumpling feast on the weekend when everyone could linger. The lantern still glowed, the greetings still warmed the room, and nobody had to sprint from freeway to freeway. What celebration in your life could keep its soul even if you gently move its time? Food becomes the bridge when words feel clumsy. We set a table where scallion pancakes met gingerbread cookies, and oranges sat beside candy canes like cousins on a couch. Red envelopes were tucked into stocking toes, and the pine wreath wore a tiny red tassel that made Grandma smile on FaceTime. When you can taste both histories in one bite, you understand that combining cultural celebrations is not a compromise. It's a feast. What two dishes from your families could sit side by side and make a new story? Before the second weekend of January, we learned another truth. Rituals belong to people, but schedules belong to calendars. We made a both-and calendar on paper because paper slows your breath and steadies your hands. We circled must-haves, drew stars for flexible moments, and penciled in buffers that said, "Leave space for the drive, leave space to exhale." Could a simple paper calendar reduce the pressure you feel around holidays? But there's something even braver than getting the schedule right. You'll need to talk with family, and that means negotiating with love, not fear. We practiced our calls together, sitting at the kitchen table where the sunlight hits the wood like a warm hand. We wrote drafts that sounded kind, honest, and specific. Our goal wasn't to win an argument. It was to invite everyone into the same room, even if they were 1,000 miles away. We tried scripts that began with yes. Yes, we want to keep making dumplings with you on New Year's. We also want to spend the morning with her parents because their church choir sings early. We'll video call during dumpling folding, so we're together as we prep. The yes-and softened defenses. It told people they were not being replaced. They were being included. What's one sentence you could say to a parent that starts with yes and stays tender? Gifts and budgets can be another tightrope. On one side, the tradition of giving many small gifts. On the other, one big, cherished item that lasts. We set a shared budget and agreed to mirror each other's style even if the contents looked different. Her family kept the playful rhythm of many little surprises, while mine kept the one good thing approach. Both felt respected. Could mirroring the style, rather than the exact number, restore balance in your gift expectations? Midway through that season, we hit our wall. We were tired, a little homesick, and a text from a relative landed wrong. We stood by the window, looking out at the street, where winter light makes everything look like early morning, and I heard the doubt creep in. That's when whispered hearts. English reminds us that this channel isn't just information. It's a place to feel less alone while you're doing something brave for your future family. Has the weight of expectations ever made you wonder if love can carry it? But the story doesn't end with overwhelm. Repair is the quiet miracle that keeps two people on the same side. We set a timer for 20 minutes and took turns speaking without interruption. We each named a feeling, not a verdict. Then we asked a small, doable favor for the week ahead. I promised to handle the travel confirmations and to build in a rest day. She promised to decline one extra invitation without guilt. Which tiny favor would take weight off your partner's shoulders right now? There's also the matter of tradition guardians, the relatives who hold the family memory like a flame they're afraid to pass. We learned to honor that role by asking for stories. Tell us about your first New Year away from home. What made Christmas feel magical when you were little? People soften when you ask about the origin of their devotion. The conversation shifts from rules to roots. Whose story could you ask for to turn conflict into connection? But what about the moments that clash head-on? Maybe one family expects a quiet morning service, while the other celebrates with drums and fireworks at dawn. We found that sequencing matters. We created pockets of silence around loud celebrations and pockets of music around solemn ones. We let contrast become choreography, not competition. Could you treat the day like a playlist, guiding the energy from intimate to joyful and back again? On a soft spring day, months later, we kept a small ritual that had grown out of those decisions. We sat on the front stoop, feeling the damp scent of rain on warm pavement, and we made a list of 3 moments that felt like us. The list never looked the same twice. One year, it was the dumpling folding with cousins on video. Another year, it was the late-night tree trimming with a red lantern glowing in the window. What 3 moments would make your list if you wrote it today? As summer arrived, the habits held. The grill hissed in the backyard, and aunties taught kids to fold paper boats that looked like little red packets. Music from 2 languages played, while fireflies stuttered over the grass. In between, we planned a fall visit to both sides, when flights were cheaper and hearts were less frayed. Does planning a second season visit after the holidays take pressure off your main celebrations? But there's an even gentler craft in this. The words you choose will either tighten the knot or loosen it. We replaced should with want and must with mean. We want to keep the midnight count because it means blessing the year as it begins. That language turned debates into planning sessions. What word swap could soften your next holiday conversation? Another anchor we found was inviting friends who were also navigating intercultural family traditions. A potluck in early December became a rehearsal dinner for the season. People brought dishes with stories attached, and laughter loosened the tension. We borrowed ideas, we left others, and nobody had to be perfect. Would a small pre-season gathering soothe your nerves and spark creativity? We also made a space for grief, because blending can highlight what's missing. Not every relative will travel. Not every custom will fit. We lit a candle for the elders who couldn't be with us, and we left an empty chair in the living room with a small scarf on it, bright and welcoming. Grief, when honored, makes joy more honest. Is there a tender tradition you could add to honor the people who shaped you? In the thick of December, logistics tries to steal the romance. We fought back with micro-rituals that took less than 3 minutes. A quick tea before we left the house, a sticky note on the steering wheel with a simple blessing, a photo at every threshold we crossed, even the front porch with salt on the steps. Which 3-minute ritual could become your anchor when the day gets loud? But there's a final turn that keeps the season from swallowing you. We chose a shared centerpiece tradition that belongs to the two of us alone. For us, it became the first light. Before any celebration, we lit a small candle in our kitchen and touched our foreheads together in the quiet. If the day went sideways, at least the first light had been shared. What would your co-created tradition be if you made one today? Late in the season, there's often a friction point with money, invites, and drive times. We treated it like a project meeting with heart. We looked at last year's calendar and asked, where were we rushed? Where were we peaceful? We cut the rush by 10% on purpose. Peace grows in spaces you plant. Where could you trim 10% this year to create breathing room? When conflict popped up again, as it does, we used a repair script that rescued us from old grooves. This is important to me because it reminds me of being safe as a kid. I see that it's stressful for you, and I'm willing to move the time if we keep the blessing. This language holds both people at once. You don't snuff out a candle to light another. When you imagine this script in your voice, how does it feel? By autumn, the leaves made that friendly shush under our shoes, and we were already daydreaming about the next round of lights and lanterns. We took a slow walk past porches with carved pumpkins and sat on a park bench where the air smelled like cinnamon from a bakery nearby. Planning felt calm. Love had grown a longer table and a clearer map. What early step could you take now, before the season begins, to set yourselves up for ease? Through it all, the brand of your love is not neutrality. It's warmth. It's the sound of your partner laughing while your aunt teaches them the phrase that makes elders grin. It's the moment your dad tastes the rice cake with a sprinkle of cinnamon and nods like he's found a memory he didn't know he owned. If our stories at Whispered Hearts, English, give you a sense that you belong in this work, that's because you do. Which small victory from your last holiday deserves a celebration today? As you head into your next season, remember that multicultural holiday celebrations are not an obligation to please everyone. They are an invitation to build a house where meaning lives in many rooms. You might keep the quiet morning blessing and add the afternoon parade. You might write a card in 2 languages and teach the kids to say thank you in both. And on that December night when the freeway is clear and the radio plays a song you both know, you may find that holiday harmony for couples isn't about the perfect blend. It's about the courageous choice to love out loud, together, in the ways that shaped you. Light the first candle. Hang the red tassel on the wreath. Set the table for both sides and call it home. What's your favorite tradition from your culture to share? Because here's the promise you're writing with every decision. You are building a story your future children, nieces, nephews and friends will inherit. One where both sides get to be celebrated. You are creating a season where elders feel seen and partners feel chosen. That's not easy work. It's holy, everyday work, and it's worth it. What would happen if you gave yourselves permission to do less, but love more? So take those 2 calendars off the fridge and draw a bridge between them. Keep what carries meaning. Move what gets in the way. Add something that is only yours. Whisper it to each other in the kitchen, where steam fogs the window and winter leans against the glass. And when the lanterns glow beside the string lights, you'll know you didn't choose one tradition over another. You chose each other. We're glad you're here. Whispered Hearts. English is a place where couples like you compare notes in the gentlest light. If you found comfort or courage in these words, leave a comment, swap a recipe, or steal one of ours. And as you keep blending holiday traditions in relationships, may your home make room for every voice that ever taught you how to celebrate.